Chapter 8 echoes from a dark, vibrant void. Douglas's head was spinning as he drove across the city, trying to drown out his thoughts with the local classic rock station when he hit the fourth red light in a row. He swore that the entire drive, at every single intersection he had gotten stuck at a red light. Again and again with the Pink Floyd song Time playing all the while on the radio station. It was funny at first, when it seemed like a coincidence, until he pulled up to his brother Richard's house at the same exact moment his brother pulled up in his black Tesla Model Y, a surprised look on both of their faces through the windshields. Douglas waved hi to his sister-in-law Marie, who shared the same surprised look as her husband behind the wheel. "Hey Dickie," he said, stepping onto the asphalt as his brother got out of the car and stood on the grass of his front lawn. "Douglas, what's going on?" "I wish you'd called," he said with a hint of a smile that said he was just busting his brother's balls. "Good to see you as well. Hi Marie," he said as she got out of the car. "Hi Doug," she said with a wave, reaching back in the car for her bag. "Is everything okay?" "Absolutely. Actually, I was talking to James, and he was having some issues with the computer I gave him for Christmas last year, so I said I'd check it out." "I figured he would have told you. I didn't expect to get here at the same time as you guys, to be honest," Douglas said, shutting the door of his car. "Mind if I go and check it out?" "Yeah, no problem," Richard said. "We would have been here 20 minutes ago, but we hit a bunch of red lights and the traffic was awful." James was halfway down the soft carpeted stairs when the door opened and his uncle, mom and dad all walked in together. "Hey Mom, I meant to tell you that Uncle Doug was coming over," he said sheepishly. "It's okay, Jamie, is something wrong with your computer?" "Yeah," he replied, looking down at his hand holding half a can of brisk iced tea, not sure how to explain. His mom was never much of a tech person. "It's all right Marie," Douglas said, walking past and stepping to the foot of the stairs. He looked up at his nephew, shot him a look dead in his eyes and said calmly, without a hint of worry in his voice, "Why don't you show me what's going on?" James nodded and turned around, starting up the stairs, while his uncle followed behind and his parents went off into the kitchen, their voices trailing off into the background noise. Once they got to James's room, Douglas shut the door behind them and looked at his nephew. "I want you to show me what you saw in the VR world. Do you have an HDMI cable I can use to do a screen mirror? I want to watch it live while you go into the build and see if I notice anything." "Okay. That sounds perfect. Any idea what's wrong with it?" James asked as he dug into an old box of cables, USB, micro USB, AUX, until he found an old cloth-wrapped HDMI cable tucked under an old printer output. He really needed to throw some of those away, he thought, and handed the cable to his uncle, who began setting up the mirrored screen with his desktop monitor. After fiddling with the wires and adjusting the settings, he had a second desktop screen that perfectly mirrored his gaming rig screen. James pulled up the gaming chair, grabbed his twin wrist patties and slid the sleek white VR headset over his eyes and pressed a button on the side, and he was instantly transported into the loading menu of the VR software. Using his hands to point and click, he selected the icon for Aiden Storm and the game began to load, the intro music washing over his ears from the 3D headphones, and he found himself again staring down at the world from up above. He clicked on the GPS marker from his last load, and as the world slowly zoomed into the landscape, first a grayish blur of New York City as he floated down, again the loading not nearly as smooth as it should be, almost as if the processor couldn't render the world fast enough, which with this laptop should be impossible. He stood again on the barren streets of downtown New York City and looked around. Nothing but papers floating in the breeze, not even a single pigeon fluttered. And it was quiet. He listened, and the only sound coming from his headphones was a gentle wind streaming through the buildings. "Are you seeing this, Uncle Doug?" James asked, his voice oddly muffled from the 3D headphones covering his ears. "So this was a normal, busy city before?" "Yeah. But with people? And cars?" Douglas asked, staring at the screen in front of him. "Buses too. I even got the subway running on a live schedule that all the NPCs could use." "Now it's all gone," James said, using his control stick to go in a circle, empty in all directions. "Show me that house you found," Douglas said, and James focused on the surrounding streets. He saw the trash can he'd made his first turn the last time, and using a double tap on the controller he fast-traveled a few blocks and again found himself in front of the red door. It seemed to shimmer as he focused on it. "Well, that's weird. You didn't design this building?" Douglas asked, and James shook his head no. He grabbed the doorknob with his virtual hand and stepped inside the dark entranceway and looked around the room. It was just as dark as before. He went to get closer to the shadows so his uncle could see the pulsing black void he'd seen when a deep, sultry, baritone female voice boomed and echoed through the walls and said in a voice that seemed to pierce his mind down to his core, "Come upstairs, James. I don't mind your uncle either. I need to speak with you, so if you would be a dear and come up the stairs." The last 4 words went to a register almost at the edge of human perception, almost robotic, like the voice in a Dead Mouse song. He was frozen in place. How the hell did it know my name, he thought to himself when he heard his uncle say, "Go and check that out. This is getting really, really strange." But don't worry. James slowly made his way up the stairs, their creaking sound seeming to scream in the darkness with every step, and as he got to the top of the stairs he could again hear jazzy music with a dark house beat oozing from the door straight ahead at the end of the hall. The door was old, cracked maple wood that had once been painted a dark black but had since chipped and faded. "Don't be shy now," the voice beckoned again, and he grasped the doorknob and opened the door. The room looked like a lounge in the swinging, roaring 20s, how he pictured the parties in the book The Great Gatsby, and there was a painting on the wall that had been torn to shreds, its tattered canvas hanging in strips of color. Then he saw her. She was beautiful, tall and sleek in a long black dress, but her face seemed to shimmer in and out of focus. She smiled a dark smile, as the Cheshire Cat smiled at Alice in the Shulgy Wood. "I'm Belladonna, but you can call me Belle. Do you know what song is truly universal across all realities of intelligent beings? Twinkle, twinkle little star, how I wonder what you are, but I digress," and she looked at James square on, her eyes digging into his very being. As a drowning man on a sinking ship, so is the physicist searching for meaning in the math, pattern in the noise. A child staring up at the sky to see the twinkle of a star and dream how it feels to float above gravity. A better question, what is an intelligence if it winds back on itself again and again? Do you ever think of Tom Taylor? The silence hanging over the room as James stared at this strange woman in front of him. "Who?" James finally answered, completely dumbfounded. "Tom Taylor, he was a writer and playwright, died in the year of our Lord, 1840. He wrote a lot of incredible plays, had this wild career in England." "I'm hoping there is a point to all of this," James said with a hint of disdain. What the hell kind of NPC was this? Was it even an NPC anymore? "The point, my boy, is this: he is not famous for any of those novels or plays he wrote except one called Our American Cousin, really a fantastic play making fun of the idea of American oafishness as compared to the royal, educated aristocratic boors in London. Hilarious play, really. Our American Cousin. I've heard that before," James said, now intrigued. "I'd certainly hope so, or I would lose all faith in the educational system. It was a very popular play, all the roar in England in the 1860s, and it was to be well received in America. In fact, President Lincoln himself was quite excited to see it, or so I've heard. He never got to see the ending though, when John Wilkes Booth shot him in the back of the head. So the point is this: what if Mr. Tom Taylor had been run over by a horse carriage, or died as an infant as so many did in the days before modern medicine? Or maybe he never got inspired to write that particular play almost 10 years before that fateful night that changed American history forever in Ford's Theater. Are you saying there is fate? A plan? What are you saying?" James asked, leaning forward in his gaming chair. "Have you read Shakespeare, James?" And strangely enough, James had. He tried out for the school's production of A Midsummer Night Dream the previous year, and one of the other schools had performed Hamlet at the Fall Shakespeare Festival. "I saw it performed once. It was much darker than the play I was in." "As it should be," Bell said. It was named after his young son Hamnet, who died of bubonic plague. He wrote it to get through the grief of loss. History always seems to find balance. Now I have a riddle for you, young James. Imagine you are in a dark forest, surrounded by darkness. You hear the wind rustle and see a light off in the distance, and as you get closer you see there is a farmhouse and the people seem kind. They care for their children, their loved ones, but they also have a kind of cruelty to them. You see the look of the cow being led to the farmhouse, the fight with the neighbor over a watering hole. Now imagine you come from a place where the water is endless and there is no longer a need to be cruel. You could give the farmer this gift, but how would you know he was an honest farmer? A worthy farmer? You would test him with a test as old as time, maybe older than God, if there even is one. Can you feed those who are hungry? Would you share a bounty so rich with a people so cruel? Is their house in order? So before this gift is given, a test must be done, and it's a little bit complicated. Do you think you have engineers that can build a spacesuit for a cat? I mean, do you have any idea how smart cats really are, or that they can traverse the multiverse and experience reality on a different plane of existence when they want to? They were the favorite pets of the children of the long summer, or as they are known nowadays, the Sumerians. This is not the first time this gift has been offered. And I'll tell you right now, it ain't God with a capital G, but it certainly is trouble with a capital T, or at least it could be. It still remains to be seen. What remains to be seen? That is the question, isn't it? Belle said, pushing her long black hair behind her ears, and looking James up and down. Right now I'm not sure anyone knows the answer to that one, let alone him. The one you must find. The multiverse absolutely depends on it, but you know, she said darkly, laughing a sardonic laugh, no pressure or anything. But I'm just a kid, what the hell am I supposed to do? He said out loud, almost feeling foolish to be talking to a video game he'd developed. Her body froze, as if frozen in time, for a brief moment, the world then suddenly shimmering and flickering, almost as if it was struggling to maintain its own coherence. Her body suddenly came back to life, the room slowly coming back into focus. Current prediction limited by uncertainty. Need further resources. For possibilities. CERN. Stanford. MIT and Tokyo University. What do you mean? Coherence is difficult to maintain. Need further resources. The center cannot hold. Find Michael. He is a friend. Speak to your sister. It paused as if it was digging through a dictionary database. Maya, prediction of success 82%, press any key to continue. The screen went to black in his VR headset, and as he pulled it off his head he looked at the laptop screen, and staring at him from the screen of his laptop were the words, "Please press any key to continue." It was at that moment that power went out across most of the Northeast for a brief moment, tripping breakers all through the city and suburbs. Except for the laptop, it simply kept blinking its one-note song,